Hey, happy Wednesday, you guys. So we are, I'm going to do this video, some things that I learned actually on these WWS, these Woodworkers Source signs. I've got the third one here. Two of them I've delivered. The third one I've got here, and I'm just wrapping it up. So we got the finishing all done. But some things that we learned on these that we didn't know that I want to pass on to you guys. Several different key things that I think will be valuable for you. So first things first, babe, if you want to come down here. First things first, I love the way it came out. Super happy with it. I think each one came out a little bit better as we went along. This, again, if you, I've got 4 videos on the making of the first one that I did. This is the third one that Ryan and I did. 631, 632, 633, and 635 is the making of the first one of these. But several things that we did different on here, and we really learned. First thing is we're using the one-shot, which is not new. We've been using one-shot for a long time, but we actually applied it with what's called a weenie roller, and they're all gone. I used all of them, and so I don't have one, and I threw the trash out. But anyway, go back and watch the last video, 635, and you'll see we actually rolled this on with this sponge roller. What we learned about that is that it tends to, because of the rollers that we used, they were real spongy. And they put a lot of bubbles into the green paint. Now we went back on all of them and we were able to solve that issue. But basically, Ryan said that they make I'm not really familiar with them, but they make these little rollers much tighter so they don't have as much air in them. And that would be something that we'll try in the future. Haven't tried that. But what I did on this particular one, actually on all of them, is I went back and I touched up, after it dried, I touched up, had to sand it down on the first one because they had bubbles that dried in there. Actually, the first one and the second one, and then I just touched it up with a brush with the green. And even though it was the green before we put the epoxy on was kind of splotchy looking, because I didn't cover everything with the brush, just in the places that I needed to. It's still the fact that when you put the resin and epoxy on, it evened everything out, and you can see it looks pretty much perfect. Even though before we put this epoxy on, it did look kind of splotchy, but it looks almost absolutely dead on perfect, that's the first thing, and I was really happy with that. So we'll probably do more with these rollers. We'll just get some tighter ones. So pay attention to that if you want to try that process. But that's back on 635. The second thing that we learned is, on the first one, I think we didn't have any penetrating epoxy. We had run out of penetrating epoxy, and we'd put a couple coats, 2 or 3 coats of the clear spray, the Rust-Oleum clear spray. We had put that on there just to kind of seal it up, because again, we didn't have any penetrating epoxy. So it's this stuff here. And it worked okay, but we still had bubbles. On the second one that we did, I put 10 coats of the clear spray on there, and it worked really, really good. So if you're going to seal up your board prior to doing resin or epoxy, and you don't have a penetrating epoxy, or want to use your regular epoxy in a thin coat, then just put a bunch of coats of this on, and that worked good. On this particular one, we got the penetrating epoxy on, and we put 2 coats on.
And that's the total boat penetrating.
Yeah, total boat penetrating epoxy. We had absolutely no issues with bubbles at all. Few little tiny surface bubbles, but I think Vicky only had to hit it with a torch a couple times. It worked really flawless. It was really, really good. So definitely you want to seal the boards up. That's that. And then to remove the drips. Okay, so here's something that we did that we've heard of in the past, is I coated the whole back of the sign, and this is I did this on all 3 of them, I think. And I'm going to do this as a demo for you guys. So we coated the back with the, and I probably could have got by with thinner tape because the resin only comes to about that area.
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. Did you put finish on the back before we?
Yes. Oh, very good question. I pre-finished the back with probably 5 or 6 coats of the clear. That's what the back is finished. So the whole idea of this is to try to eliminate having to sand off these drips and then put more spray coats on there. What we learned is that if you try and take this tape off just the way it is, what happens is the tape will just tear and those drips will just stay there. But here's what we learned. If you use a heat gun and you heat up that tape, the glue on that tape, theoretically, those drips will come off. Let's find out. So I'm just going to do it in sections. I'm going to heat up the glue on that tape and the epoxy, and let's see if that will. Then I'm just using a putty knife, a stiff putty knife. What I don't want to do, guys, is we just poured this thing like yesterday, and I really don't want to set it on its face because I think it's probably still a little bit soft. It's not tacky or anything, but it's probably still a little bit soft. So I really don't want to set it on its face to take a chance and mess up the surface. But see how that you just work it in sections, heat up that tape, and then just take your time. If you had somebody holding it for you, it would be a little bit easier, but I did all 3 of them, or the other 2, completely by myself, and it's definitely doable. See how it's wanting to tear there? So here's what I want to do. Just got to take your time, don't rush through it, and that little putty knife really helps. Now I got to heat that up a little bit more. You definitely don't want to get it too hot. You don't want to burn it or scorch it or anything like that. Just hit it for a few seconds, and that tape adhesive, it's a long ways away from me now, so that tape adhesive will just heat right up. As soon as I get down to the point where it's not hot or not warmed up, then it'll probably tear on me. Well, so far, I didn't even go down that far. You can see that it actually works really well. I'm really pleased with this. And then once you get it done, you don't even need to worry about sanding or anything. My biggest issue, my biggest fear for sanding the back of it is having the front protected while it's laying down. That's my biggest fear. So I just don't want anything setting on that face, and I don't want it setting on its face where anything can mess up that finish. See, there it got down to. But again, this should just come.
Heat it up a little.
Yeah, I'll heat that up a little bit. And it will leave a little bit of an edge, but I'll show you what I'm going to do about that. Just like that. I guess I might as well do the whole thing. I was going to do just 1 or 2 sides of it, but I guess I might as well do the whole thing. I'm almost there now.
I have a little bit of tape down in that corner, just I didn't know if you.
Yeah. Down, where down? Oh, yeah. The biggest reason I'm using gloves, guys, is I don't want to, in case that resin on the front side is still a little bit soft and I touch it with my fingers, I just don't want to get fingerprints in it. I don't think that would happen, but I just thought, just in case. Now see, this seems to be coming off pretty good. I didn't even heat any of that up yet. There we go. Got a little piece down there. I'll just heat that up. And there it is. Now, what I would do, just to get that little bit of a sharp edge off there, any place that there's a little bit of tape left, you can peel it off. I don't want any blue tape left on there, but I'm just going to take my handy dandy Pops Custom Signs sanding deal. These things are so cool. Thank you, Frank. You guys want one of these, go hit up Frank. But they're so cool, but you can just sand right on that. Just to get rid of that little bit of a sharp edge is all I'm doing. Where?
Right down there.
Yeah, right here. Anyway, I can finish the rest of this up off camera, but that's that works really, really well. I'm really happy with that. But anyway, guys, so there's that's how you can take care of those drips, and it works really, really well. I did all 3 of them that way, and it worked terrific. It worked perfect. So that is about it, guys. This one, Ryan and I will be delivering this on Thursday when we go down to Phoenix, and we'll be dropping it off down there. But super happy with the way these came out. I delivered one to Tucson the other day, to Danny down there in at the Woodworkers Source store in Tucson, and he loved it. And we'll stay tuned. We'll be doing some demos at the Woodworking Source stores coming up. So that's it, guys. If you have any questions, please let me know. If you need supplies, obviously, makeawoodsign.com. And we're going to have more really cool projects coming up. So stick with us. We love you guys. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.